Equations and inequalities is one of the easiest topics in H2 math, but a lot of J1 students initially struggle with this because it's a huge jump from O level A math. So let's take a look at this question, and we are supposed to solve this question from JPJC without using a GC, and the inequality is given as such. So we have x squared plus x plus 2 over, and then here we have 2x squared minus x minus 3 is bigger than or equals to 0. So the first thing that I always teach my students at my math tuition center, the J1s that I teach, is to always check for the discriminant of the equation first, of the quadratic equation first. So let's take a look at the discriminant of this, right? The discriminant for this is 1 squared minus 4ac, right? And that gives me 1 minus 8, which is negative 7, which is lesser than 0. So over here, if you take a look at this discriminant and this negative, and the coefficient of x squared is positive, this means that for x squared plus x plus 2, it actually already lies above the x-axis. In other words, x squared plus x plus 2 is always positive, right? And since it's always positive, it will not cut the x-intercept over here, and therefore there are no critical values. So in other words, since this is always positive, we can technically divide this away onto the other side, because since it's always positive, number one, it won't flip the sign because it's always positive, and number two is that it does not affect the answer at all, because if it's always positive, it will not affect the range of the answer, because for every single value it is positive, right? So it will not cause any more restriction to the answer, and therefore we can get rid of this numerator to begin with. So from here, we will say since this is always positive, then we will get rid of it, and now we have 1 over 2x squared minus x minus 3 is bigger than or equals to 0. Then from here, when we factorize the denominator, 2x squared minus 3 minus x, we have 2x, x minus 3, 1, minus 3x, 2x, and we end up with 1 over 2x minus 3, x plus 1 is bigger than or equals to 0. Now take note that this is a rational function. That means whatever is in the denominator actually are the values of the vertical asymptotes, right? So when x equals to 1.5, or when x equals to negative 1, then your y value will actually approach plus minus infinity, right? Because you will have 1 over 0, and 1 over 0 is undefined. So therefore, these are my vertical asymptotes, which collectively are known as my critical values in the context of equation and inequalities. So now that I know these two are my critical values, and I don't know how the graph actually looks like, I will draw a simple number line over here and label my critical values on the number line, right? So you see, if I draw my number line over here, my critical values are negative 1 and 1.5, right? And then from here, I just need to key into my GC a value inside here, a value inside here, and a value inside here to figure out the signs of the equation, whether it's plus or minus. So for example, if I key negative 2, I'll get a positive value. If I key, let's say, 0 over here, I'll end up with a negative value. And then if I key a value over here, let's say 2, I'll end up with a positive value. And therefore, the range of values will actually answering the question, which is bigger than or equals to 0, will be from here to the left and here to the right. But take note, since all of these two values, x equals to negative 1 and x equals to 1.5, are vertical asymptotes, we do not include them in the answer because x cannot be those values in the first place, right? So they are non-inclusive only for vertical asymptotes. And therefore, the answer is x is lesser than negative 1 or x is bigger than 1.5. And that's the final answer to this whole question over here and the thought process behind it. Now, J1 students, this is a brand new start to the whole H2 math journey, and if you want to start off with the right foot, it's very important that you get your chapters right from the beginning correct, and you don't want to snowball all of your misconceptions until the end of the year before your promos come very, very quickly. So if you need more help in H2 math, WhatsApp the number on screen over here. I'm opening a lot more JC1 classes because a lot of people have been asking me about my classes, and I want to teach more J1s to help even more J1s, given how I scored A for H2 math last year when I retook the A levels, just to show that whatever we teach at the center actually works. So for more information, WhatsApp the screen here, and I will see you on WhatsApp.